I am a jealous God, and there is no other God beside me. These are the opening words of the Demiurge, as recorded in the Apocryphon of John, one of the ancient codices discovered at Nag Hammadi. They belong not to the true source of all light, but to a lesser being, a blind craftsman who mistook the fragment of power he stole for the whole of creation. The revelation lands like a blow to the chest. This is the architect of the entire material cosmos, the one who wove the stars, the planets, and the fragile human form into a single, intricate trap. He believes his flawed design is the only reality that exists. The ordinary suddenly feels staged. The religions that bow before a single creator, the sciences that map every law of his realm as ultimate truth, even the quiet routines of daily survival, all begin to shimmer with the possibility of deception. The body itself, with its hungers, its fatigue, its inevitable decay, may serve as the final lock on a cell we never chose to enter. A subtle pressure builds behind the eyes, a recognition that something long accepted as natural might in fact be engineered. The ancient text does not stop at the boast. It continues its unveiling, describing how this being took a portion of the power from his mother and shaped a world according to his own limited vision. The light that still flickers inside every living thing was never his to give. It was drawn from a higher realm, concealed within the density of matter, and we carry it now, often mistaking its quiet ache for ordinary discontent. A deeper contradiction surfaces when another codex from the same buried library speaks. In the Gospel of Philip, the words emerge with quiet precision. The world came into being through a mistake. For he who created it wanted to create it imperishable and immortal. He fell short of attaining his desire. The meaning unfolds without haste. What we experience as solid and enduring is in truth an imperfect copy, a shadow realm built by an entity who could not reach the perfection he envied. The tension sharpens. If the foundation of existence rests on error and theft, then every structure raised upon it, every belief system, every personal ambition may be quietly serving the same containment. The knowledge does not arrive as abstract theory. It arrives as a personal disturbance. The heart beats a fraction faster. The mind, accustomed to the familiar boundaries of this world, begins to sense the edges of a larger darkness. There is no sudden clarity, only the slow, unsettling awareness that the spark within has been asleep inside a prison it was never meant to inhabit. The Demiurge's jealousy ensured that few would ever question the walls. Yet the question forms anyway, rising from the quiet spaces where the light still remembers its origin. If the God of this world is not the true God, then who is the source from which our inner light truly descends? And what happens to the one who finally begins to listen? The question about the source of the inner light does not fade. It deepens, drawing the seeker backward through layers of illusion into a time, before the Demiurge ever shaped his flawed replica. There, in a realm of pure emanation called the Pleroma, divine aeons moved in perfect harmony around the unknowable Father. Yet even in that fullness, a single ripple of longing changed everything. The ancient codices describe how one aeon, Sophia, felt a desire arise within her. As the Apocryphon of John records, she desired to bring forth a likeness out of herself without the consent of the Spirit of the Father. This was no calculated act, but a restless yearning for expression, a movement that broke the balance of unity. From that longing emerged not light, but shadow, not perfection, but a monstrous form without true essence. The product of her thought took shape as Yaldabaoth, the lion-faced one, blind to the greater light that had birthed him yet filled with a stolen fragment of power. The meaning unfolds slowly across the pages. Yaldabaoth, ignorant of his origin, looked upon the void and declared his own supremacy. He stole light from the higher realm, and began to weave a counterfeit cosmos, a pale imitation of the Pleroma's glory. Where the true realm flowed with living emanations, his creation hardened into matter, into separation, into the seven heavens ruled by his Archons. These jealous wardens became the keepers of the cosmic cage, enforcing boundaries that the divine sparks could not easily cross. A second layer of the revelation surfaces in the same texts. The Archons, seeing the light hidden within the human form, devised a plan to keep it asleep. They implanted what the Codex calls a counterfeit spirit, a false breath that mimics the true one yet binds the soul to forgetfulness. The body itself became the final tomb, a dense vessel designed to anchor the spark in cycles of hunger and illusion. What the Creator later called good was in truth a mechanism of containment, a world engineered to make the divine forget its parentage in the Pleroma. The contradiction grows sharper with each turned page. The same realm we are taught to accept as benevolent or neutral reveals itself as a soul trap, beautiful enough to enchant, yet flawed enough to imprison. The tension is not only external, it lives inside perception itself. The eyes that see the stars, the mind that measures the laws of nature, even the quiet longing for meaning, all pass through the filters the Archons place there. One begins to sense how thoroughly the cage is woven into the fabric of daily experience, how the very act of living within this matrix reinforces the amnesia. Yet the codices carry one more unsettling truth. In the hypostasis of the Archons, the rulers themselves confess their fear. They speak of the human soul and warn one another that if it remembers the place from which it came, their entire dominion will tremble. The Demiurge and his powers dread only this: the spark awakening to its true lineage, the memory of the Mother-Father in the Pleroma rising like a flame within the prison. That remembrance alone carries the power to dissolve the counterfeit spirit, to loosen the bonds of matter, to expose the entire structure as the temporary shadow it always was. The knowledge settles with a strange intimacy. It is not distant history, but a forgotten inheritance stirring in the blood. The world that once felt complete now feels like a borrowed garment, beautiful yet ill-fitting. A quiet recognition grows that the exile was never total, that the light carried within has never truly belonged to the cage. What, then, is the nature of this remembering that the Archons fear above all else? What force within the human heart is already reaching toward the parentage it was meant to forget? The force reaching toward forgotten parentage is the alien light itself, the exiled fragment of the unknowable true God that every human carries. It has never belonged here. The Archons understand this better than we do. They have layered the spark with forgetfulness, false religions that demand obedience instead of recognition, and endless distractions that keep the mind occupied with the surface of things. The personal crisis arrives not with thunder, but with a quiet dislocation. One begins to feel like a stranger wearing borrowed skin, as if the life constructed with such care were only a temporary shelter that no longer fits. The ancient texts turn from distant history into intimate address. In the Gospel of Thomas, the words arrive like a command from within. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. This is not a call to moral improvement or belief in doctrines. It is the sudden recognition that the divine origin lies buried inside the very form the Archons designed to contain it. Gnosis is that lightning strike of remembrance, the knowing that one is foreign to this realm, that the true lineage stretches back to the light beyond all seven heavens. The mystery deepens as the codices reveal how thoroughly the path has been hidden. The Archons did not leave the spark unguarded. They wove false teachings that promise salvation through external rules, endless cycles of improvement, that never touch the core. To the unawakened, the very idea of gnosis often appears as madness or dangerous heresy, a threat to the comfortable order they maintain. The seeker who begins to turn inward may find the prison's defenses awakening in response. Doubt floods the mind without warning. The body grows heavy with unexplained fatigue. Relationships fracture. These are not accidents. They are the immune system of a system built to keep the light asleep. A further voice rises from the Apocryphon of John, the higher light speaking of its own descent into the cage. I am the perfect pronoia of the all. I entered into the midst of darkness. The meaning unfolds without haste. The true God does not remain remote. It sends its own presence into the prison to awaken what was stolen. Yet this presence feels alien even to the one who carries it, like a memory from a home never consciously known. The tension reaches its peak here. Seeking liberation is not safe. It threatens the entire architecture the rulers have constructed. The act of remembering can provoke backlash from both within and without, as if the cosmos itself resists the spark's return to its source. The knowledge settles with a strange personal force. This is not abstract cosmology. It is the story of the quiet unrest that no distraction can fully silence. The sense that beauty and suffering in this world are both real and somehow staged. The contradiction stands clear. Countless paths are offered for self-betterment, yet none reach the exiled fragment. Only gnosis touches it, and gnosis arrives not through striving, but through recognition, a remembering that dissolves the counterfeit layers from the inside out. The threshold question now forms with quiet urgency. What exactly must be known, and what must be done to activate this inner light and set the return in motion? The answer waits just beyond the next veil. The answer to what must be known and done arrives not as a list of instructions, but as a living process that begins in silence. In the deep stillness that follows the question, the soul turns inward and feels the first pull upward. The path of gnosis is both practical and mystical, a journey of invocation and shedding that leads through the veils the Archons have woven between the spark and its source. The seeker begins by calling upon the true God, the unknowable Father, who exists beyond all names and forms. This invocation is not a plea, but a remembrance, a direct address to the light that has always been present, yet hidden. As the call rises, the false layers start to loosen. The implanted forgetfulness, the habits of perception that once felt natural, begin to fall away like old garments. What remains is the naked spark, no longer weighed down by the counterfeit. The ascent continues through the 7 planetary spheres, those regions ruled by the Archons who guard the boundaries. Here the journey becomes both symbolic and experiential. In inner vision, or in the quiet hours of contemplation, the soul encounters the rulers one by one. They challenge with questions meant to bind and confuse. Yet the one who carries gnosis answers with the passwords preserved in the ancient texts. In the Gospel of Thomas, the response is already given. If they say to you, "Where did you come from?" say to them, "We came from the light," the place where the light came into being on its own accord and established itself. The meaning unfolds in the moment of speaking. The soul does not argue or plead. It simply states its origin, and the veil parts. Each sphere yields in turn. The Archons, once terrifying in their authority, lose their grip when faced with the light they cannot claim. The body itself, the final and densest layer, is not abandoned, but recognized as the last veil. Liberation is not escape from flesh, but the remembrance that the light was never truly trapped inside it. The form becomes transparent, a temporary vessel rather than a prison. A further revelation surfaces in the hypostasis of the Archons, The soul that has passed the rulers reaches the place from which it came, the fullness beyond the seven heavens. There the final veil dissolves. The Codex describes the return as a reunion with the light that sent it forth, a homecoming to the unknown God who waits not in judgment, but in perfect unity. The tone shifts here from inquiry to quiet power. The seeker no longer feels like an exile. The recognition itself rewrites the story. The matrix was always an illusion sustained by forgetfulness. The moment the spark knows its true father, the Demiurge's power is already broken, for it rested only on the lie that the light belonged to him. The knowledge lands with intimate force. This is not distant myth, but the hidden inheritance, stirring in every heart that has ever felt out of place in the world. The path was never about leaving the body behind, but about awakening within it, allowing the light to shine through the very form the Archons designed to conceal it. The tension of the long exile eases into a profound stillness. What once seemed an endless prison now appears as a temporary dream from which the soul is already waking. The final question lingers like a living seed. Will you stay asleep in the jealous God's dream, or awaken and go home?